This is a provider website tutorial on how to review your international or Adventures Afloat program participant mailings. In this tutorial, we'll discuss best practices, troubleshooting common errors, and how to submit your participant mailings for approval. Before conducting a review, make sure all of the necessary SPI fields are complete and that all photos, forms, or required documents and maps are attached. Please refer to the 2 participant mailing tutorial videos, SPI information and attachments, and the participant mailing input guide if your participant mailing has not yet been completed. There are sample participant mailings on the Resources tab as well, with tips and instructions. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at both Mailing 1 and 2 for an international program. Participant mailing reviews are done via this website. There are links at the top of each SPI to view a participant mailing in either draft or final mode. However, on the Maintenance tab, you can also see the mailing status. Mailings will be in Not Ready status until you approve them for delivery. International and Adventures Afloat programs have 2 mailings. Use these links to review the mailings before you approve them for delivery. The draft version will help you determine what text is standard boilerplate text versus what text is being pulled from your program as SPI information. The final version will be a print-ready PDF file just as a participant would receive it, including all of the SPI fields, JPEG images, and PDF files. Use both the final and draft modes together to become more familiar with where the participant mailing information comes from and how it is displayed in the mailing itself. Because the draft version can be overwhelming if you're unfamiliar with how a mailing is put together, we recommend that you first view the final version. To begin, click the Print Preview link next to mailing number 1. A small window will open. It may be blank for a few minutes. Then you should see a message that the mailing is being created. Depending on the size of the file and web server traffic, it may take several minutes for the View Prep Mat link to appear. Click the link and another window with the PDF document should appear. Start by checking your photo attachment on the front cover. Look for proper size, alignment, and resolution. If the front cover photo doesn't look right, refer back to the Participant Mailing Input Guide for step-by-step instructions on how to properly format the cover photo. Contact the Operations Help Desk if you cannot successfully attach the photo using these instructions. The letter from James will automatically refer to your organization. There's a statement about the second mailing and about the travel provider. For Adventures Afloat programs, the Road Scholar mailing section says, in addition, you may receive documents from the cruise line. If forms are required by the cruise line, you will find instructions under Required Documents in the Getting There section. More on this in a moment. All programs use the information in the Start Time and End Time fields on the SPI header here. There must be clear times for the start and end locations. This example should be modified to include exact times, which are needed for any independent travelers making their own arrangements. If you indicated in the SPI header's Required Documents field that there are required documents for this program, for example waivers or cruise forms, that text will appear here. Then be sure you've attached the documents as a form so they appear later in the mailing. Passport and visa information from your SPI appears next. Make sure the information is accurate. The mailing automatically includes a Road Scholar Participant Information form, 1 per person. If you are viewing the participant mailing in either draft or final mode before the program date has been set to open status, the participant information form will be missing from the mailing. Once the date is open for registration, the appropriate form will be included. If it's an intergenerational program, we'll include the intergenerational rules form and a parental consent form, 1 per child, so you don't need to include or mention these forms. Airport transfer information should also be clear and thorough, and there must be sufficient instructions for independent travelers to get to and from your program. This information and the program's start and end times are crucial for travel planning. The program summary and day-by-day itinerary information is pulled from your catalog text, activity level, and your SPY. Take a quick glance at the program summary to make sure the text is consistent with the subsequent day-by-day itinerary. Also, check under Activity Particulars to make sure your program activity level is accurately represented and there is no redundant text. If you need to elaborate on your program's activity requirements in this section of your mailing, use the Walking Distance Terrain field located in the SPY header under Special Needs Information. Scroll through the daily itinerary and free time records. The accommodations information comes from your SPY. Here are the photos you attached. Much of the practical information will appear automatically based on this being an international program and from many of the fields on the mailing information fields of your SPY. Make sure all relevant currencies are included. If it's a multi-country program, there should be multiple currencies listed. Also make sure time zone information is written fully and clearly. Do not use abbreviations. For example, spell out Eastern Time rather than entering ET. The electricity information and images will come from what you selected on your SPY in the Electrical Adapters with Photos field. For each country visited, you can select an adapter from the database. Be sure that telephone exit codes, country codes, and trunk codes are included for each country visited. Not all countries have all three codes, but check to make sure each country visited on your program has a phone option that appears. Climate and weather information should appear in the participant mailing per city visited. Here, the text entered in the Climate and Weather field in the General section of your SPY header appears, followed by the weather chart per country that you selected in the Climate Database pick list in the Mailing Information section of your SPY header. Much of the clothing and packing and baggage text is boilerplate text, but some comes from your SPY header's travel information fields. Suggested reading would appear next if it had been added to the Suggested Reading List section of your SPY. This program added their reading list as an attachment, so it follows the closing boilerplate text, the preparation through thank you text. Here's the 4-page attachment. Attachments you added to your SPY in the Program Covers and Attachments section for Mailing 1 are followed by any attachments from your SPY Master that are not marked as a form. Here are 5 country information attachments. If you have any attachments from your SPY Master that are marked as a form, they will appear next, before the standard forms that we include, the Participant Information Form and the Independent Travel Information Form for those making their own flight arrangements. There needs to be a ½ inch of space to allow for the perforation of any attachments. Font and formatting should be similar to subsequent Rhodes Scholar forms, and all forms should also read top to bottom, not left to right. Right before the Participant Information Form is a generic version of the 2-page Important Information sheet that will confirm the participant's order and lodging details. Lastly, check over your back cover attachment. The image's resolution should be 300 dots per inch or higher for printing. Remember, a photo must be placed on the bottom 2/3 of the back cover PDF. Otherwise, it will overlap with the participant mailing address at the top left. If you are having trouble formatting a back cover PDF, contact the Operations Help Desk. Now, let's quickly look at the draft version of this same Mailing 1 so you can see the boilerplate text versus what is being pulled from your program and SPY information. All information pulled from your program is crossed out. The technical names of the fields used appear in red. Note that the number of pages will be exaggerated because the layout is not accurate. A sample copy of the 2-page Important Information sheet has been inserted into this PDF to show you what it looks like for a real order. Let's now look at the final version of Mailing 2, which contains much of the same information as Mailing 1, but includes last-minute information as well as attachments and name tags. The introduction letter refers to this as the final important details, although those who have made travel arrangements with Road Scholar will receive another mailing with tickets and other travel documents. Arrival and departure instructions appear here. The emergency contact information comes from the program staff record you added and designated as an emergency contact. This information comes from the program staff member record that you added and designated as the group leader. 2 copies of the accommodation schedule are included in the mailing, as well as the final itinerary. Most of the travel advice section is boilerplate text. Mailings for U.S. and Canada Adventures Afloat programs will not include the information from the airline regulations section through the carry-on baggage section. Once you've accounted for all required fields and previewed the mailing for typos, content, layout, and glaring errors, it is now ready to be submitted for approval. Back on the maintenance page, click the Submit for Review link in the Status column. The status will change to Ready for Review while the operations staff review your mailing. When approved, the status will become Ready to Deliver. After you have some experience with the application, you will see a Submit for Mailing link instead of the Submit for Review link, which will set the mailing status to Ready to Deliver without an operations review. This concludes the video tutorial on previewing the participant mailing. Please refer to the Resources tab for the Participant Mailing Input Guide and sample mailings, or contact the Operations Help Desk for further assistance.